I wanted to start by thanking you very much for coming and launching Cup of Kindness with me. Cheers.
Cheers. I got to get there. Cheers.
Cheers.
Love you, girlfriend.
Yeah, right back at you. So I think I wanted to just start with a little bit of how we met. We were sitting poolside in a resort in Mexico, and this lovely couple came and said, "Can we move in beside you here?" And we're like, "Heck yeah." So long story short, there are people that you click with, and I just remember we had that fun Super Bowl party.
Oh, yeah.
And then do you remember our chat in the water? We stood, I think, for an afternoon in the pool, and it was just like this heart connection.
Yes, so, I told you all about my journey. You told me all about your journey.
Yeah.
Heartwarming.
And it is, well, it's amazing to me too, how, if you're open to it, you never know who you're going to meet where. You don't know what your story is going to tell somebody else and how it might help them. And so that's kind of my whole, I've had kind of a burn to do this for a long time, but didn't know how. And, but I just keep hearing story after story of awesome, amazing things through very challenging circumstances. And I just think it's good to share them, because we don't know, might not be the same story, but there might be a little tiny piece of our story that actually helps and encourages somebody else. So that is the purpose of Cup of Kindness. And I'm so thankful that you guys have jumped in to help with this, because it would have been sitting in the back of my mind without your help. So,
well, as soon as you mentioned it to me, Joan, I'm like, go for it. Like, perfect. It's great to spread kindness. It's great to spread stories and inspiration. We all need that. And as women, we all need to be together and come together.
Well, and I'm super tired of how women have been pitted against each other. We are far more powerful together than we will ever be on our own. And let's just stop the nonsense. Let's just be there for each other.
Agree. Yeah. Amen, girl.
So you have quite a story.
Yeah, I do.
Where would you like to start?
Well, I guess from the beginning, I'm sure I'll forget a lot, but I'll just, I'll try to remember the points that really stand out for me.
Okay.
In March of 2017, I found a lump on my right breast. I was in the bathtub, and I'm like immediately like, wow, what is this? And, I was actually in Vancouver at the time, as Mick and I were just dating then. And I met Mick in 2015. So this was 2 years later, 2017. And I said, Mick, like, I'm so scared. And when I got back to Victoria, I immediately called my doctor. They quickly got me in for a mammogram at the Victoria General Hospital. It was just like, it happened so fast. And so I went in for my mammogram. They obviously were alarmed. I could tell on their faces, but they don't want to scare you at that moment. So they told me to go sit in the waiting room. And then they called me in again for an ultrasound. So the ultrasound obviously could see clearer. I mean, and I had a classic case of breast cancer. Like, there was no doubt from that minute on. Then, so from ultrasound, I went right for a biopsy, all probably within a half an hour. Like, it was like,
not fooling around.
From mammogram to ultrasound to biopsy, not fooling around. So
Did they give you any idea how long they thought it had been there?
No, because I was always very good with my mammograms. Always did it on time. I was on top of it. that's the type of person I am. I'm on top of everything. I'm a kind of
Mhm.
very organized and that type of person. So, but they had changed it from 1 year, 2 years. Like, so it was
Oh,
having,
okay.
and it just happened about that time. So I started getting mammograms at the age of 40,
Mhm.
and it was 1 year, every year. And then, no, it was probably, yeah, I can't remember when they changed it to 2 years, but sadly, it really affected me because I was due for my mammogram when I
Mhm.
found the lump. Like it
Mhm.
was, oh, it had been 2 years since my last mammogram. So it happened within that 2 years.
Do you have any family history
No,
of breast cancer?
no, none at all. So,
Mm.
anyways, going back, so my biopsy, I was laying on the table, the radiologist, he basically says, well, yeah, it definitely, it looks like, you got a cancerous tumor. And I had a satellite tumor, which is very
Mhm.
common. You have the main tumor
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it has spread to my lymph node. He could tell. He could tell because it was just such a classic case. And of course, every breast cancer case is different. I mean, probably every cancer case is different, but breast cancer, I can only speak for breast cancer because I lived it,
Mhm.
but you can't compare one breast cancer case to another
Right.
because they are
Yeah.
very, very different.
Yes, they
So,
are.
anyways, mine was pretty easy to detect. So he took a biopsy of the tumor and of my lymph node at that time. So, results came back quickly. Obviously, it was uh, ductal carcinoma, and had spread to, well, they knew at that time one lymph node because they could tell. And
Mhm.
it wasn't an axillary lymph node, which it usually is. It was an intramammary lymph node. So, anyways, there was documentation of that. So, forward to that, quickly booked surgery. No, I went for an MRI and, but quickly booked the surgery. So, I was so March 4th, I think I found the lump. March 15th was when I was diagnosed. Early April was my first surgery.
Yep.
Happened
Yep.
all within a month. Get in, my first surgery. I had a lumpectomy. They took out 2 tumors and 10 lymph nodes because it had spread
And
spread
lymph
to
nodes.
10 lymph
Wow.
nodes, axillary lymph nodes. Anyways, so yeah, so I mean, you go through all the post-op things, you got the drain in and
Yeah.
it's just uncomfortable. But anyways, you just kind of leave that cancer's out of you.
Mhm.
And then uh, I went to the surgeon for follow-up and they were going over my results and they're like, oh, like, so they staged you. And they staged me at that time without, they said I was stage 2B, meaning the two, the B is like, because it is spread to my lymph node, 1 to 3 lymph nodes. So
Okay.
they
Yeah.
stage you. Grade 3 would be if it had spread, I guess, to more than 3 lymph nodes. It goes by the size of your tumor. It goes everything, like, and obviously, if it is spread to other organs, it's higher grade. But so at that time, but the pathology report said that all my lymph nodes were negative, and I'm like, whoa, okay, what's going on here? So because I'd already had a biopsy that was a positive lymph node, well, lo and behold, they took 10 lymph nodes out, but missed the lymph node that was positive. Yep. Yep. So I was like, oh my goodness. So here we are. They quickly sent me back to the Victoria General, put a clip in where the positive lymph node was, just so they could
Mhm.
tell, so they won't miss it the second time, have another surgery. And they found another tumor too at that time, another breast cancer tumor, as well as they took out 6 more lymph nodes. So here I am,
So this
3
is
breast
really rapidly moving then.
yeah, three tumors and 16 lymph nodes later. And
Wow.
of course, we know they got it. We feel confident they got it all at that time. But the recovery was really tough because of all those lymph nodes. The 16 lymph nodes really, really affected me. I ended up with lymphedema.
Mm.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you're aware of, but it's when your arm gets really swollen.
Yeah.
Well, I ended up having to go to a specialist where they do lymph massage, and I had to wear a brace on my arm. It's a compression brace.
Yeah.
So, really, and plus 2 surgeries. So after that, Joan, I was pretty down. I was
Yeah.
then all the whole reality sets in, that it's depression, you're
Yeah.
just like, oh, you feel pretty defeated and worn out and tired and all the other things. So yeah, that was the whole
So at that time, had they started, were you on any follow-up drugs?
At that time, no.
No.
The post-operative, I was considered still recovering, right, from the whole post-operative thing. So at that time, no. But then from then my oncologist, bless her heart, asked me if I wanted to do this test. And what they do is they send your tumor down to a place in California, and they, obviously analyze the tumor, and they come out with a score, which is called the Oncotype DX score. And what this score, which is pretty cool, it's a real cool thing. So what this score tells you is whether chemotherapy would benefit your type of cancer.
Wow, that's good.
Because before, whether it was 5-10 years ago, automatically they would have done chemotherapy. It was just, okay, you do radiation, you do chemotherapy, you go on the medication. It was just like the standard thing. So anyways, it was in my favor. It actually scored that, or it showed me that chemotherapy would only benefit me about 2 or 3%. So I'm like, well, that's a no-brainer. I don't want to go through that.
Right.
So I ended up foregoing that, which a lot of people are like, are you sure? Because I had my wig picked out, Joan. I was all prepared. I did. The wig was picked out. They actually, in my first surgery, they put a portacath in me, which would have been used for chemotherapy. So here I am with the port, with the wigs picked out, all ready to go. And the test results come back, and I'm like, I'm not going through it. It was so minimal. I'm like, I'm not going through it, but I am going to go through radiation. The oncologist said, Kelly, because you're not going to do chemotherapy, we need to do radiation, and we need to do hit you hard with the radiation. You have to be on these hormone blocking medication for 5 to 10 years, which is it now. It used to be 5 years, now it's 10 years. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they changed it. It was 5 years, and now it's been they've shown that it's more effective for 10 years. And what those do is they prevent recurrence for because mine was estrogen, progesterone positive. So mine was my cancer was being fed by hormones, basically being fueled by hormones. I had a high estrogen level, and my cancer was just feeding off of it. So that's what my type was, and that's the most common type. It's actually 80% of the breast cancers are the hormone type. The downside of that is you have to go on these hormone blocking medication, which I'll talk about it in a bit with you, but that's a whole other kettle of fish. Medication. But so so at that time, I guess I just started the radiation, and halfway through radiation is when I did start the tamoxifen. So because I was premenopausal at the time, I was 49 years old. At the time, that's when I was diagnosed.
So for people that don't know, is tamoxifen one of the hormone blockers?
For premenopausal women, so it's before you've gone through menopause, they put you on tamoxifen. And that's really, I think, the only choice. It's definitely the most common choice. But it's, so they put me on that halfway through radiation. Well, radiation was a whole horrible experience for me. I got so burned. It actually burned my lungs and burned my back. Went right through my lungs and right to my back. So I had to have the corticosteroid cream and the whole lung thing. So I ended up with pneumonia with radiation. They call it radiation pneumonitis. So pneumonia because of the radiation, because my lungs were so damaged and scarred from the radiation that I still have a cough to this day. And I probably always will because I've got so much scarring on my lungs.
Scar tissue. Yeah.
So anyways, at that time I was, relieved when I finished the radiation, but then the tamoxifen, that the whole world of those medications just began.